Welcome to Clarity in Action. This is the show where we have real conversations that are going to challenge your perspectives and drive real action. So if you are tired of holding back and you're ready to make bold moves, this is the show for you. Join us as we are going to take you from confusion into clarity. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Clarity in Action. I'm your host, Clara Capano, and this one is going to blow your socks off. You know, we have talked in the past about the power of mindset. We have talked about the idea that setbacks are just setups, but what if you could actually train your brain to position you for success? We have more control than sometimes we think we do. And to help us to understand how we can position ourselves for even greater success, I have Christina Wood. So Christina, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Clara. I love being here.
This is so fascinating because I think I hear it all the time. Oh, I was so lucky to get this. Or, oh, you just have to, have the right programs or get the right education. And I really think we are actually more in control of our success than we often think. So I would love to hear, what is a common myth that you see behind all of this that we can start breaking down and busting through?
One of the biggest myths is that we operate from this place of logic and that we don't realize how powerful our subconscious mind is, which is this place that has actually literally nothing to do with logic, because we walk around and we think if it makes sense and it's logical and I write it down in a column of pros and cons, that that makes a heck of a lot of sense and I'm going to do that. But our subconscious mind doesn't really care about any kind of logic, and it actually drives all of our patterns, and it's actually what we operate on automatic. Mm-hmm. We just do it. So we can have a lot of clarity in our business and our life. We can have a lot of really knowledge and wisdom and education, but what really is driving our behavior and actually putting us in the mode of execution has literally nothing to do with logic. It's automatic. But the cool part is that's the part of our mind that is like a little sponge. And so when we know that and we want to make deep, lasting change and make things that are automatic, we just have to know that that's the part that learns by repetition, that learns by really descriptive, powerful words. Mm-hmm. And we also have to know it, doesn't care about logic. It really cares more about emotion. Yeah. So the more emotion we put into things, we can actually make things more turn into automatic. Like, what do we want to make changes in?
It's so fascinating because when I started studying the brain and started studying the difference between the conscious and the non-conscious brain, I actually found out that studies tell us that almost 98 to 99% of our behavior is actually driven at the non-conscious level. But that's not, again, what we talk about, because like you said, we're always talking about the conscious level and that logic, and we want things to line up and be linear. So I would love to hear a little bit of your story on what drew you to be fascinated and to be able to want to work with people in not only unlocking, but more importantly, the programming of it.
Yeah, what drew me to this was I had a 35 plus year, career in the corporate world, and I was stuck in some areas. And I don't think I'm that unusual. We have a successful career, bank account, everything looks pretty darn good. Yet I felt really stuck and not super fulfilled. And I work with entrepreneurs now that often say the same thing. It's like, why don't I feel super, thrilled about certain things, or why am I stuck? And so someone said, try hypnosis. And I did. And in a very quick period of time, I found things that I thought were true about me that were not true in a very short period of time. So I think we're in this time of life with AI and so many things moving very fast, that this day where you have to go and sit on someone's couch, and I am very, a big believer in therapy and whatever it takes to get what you need. But there are ways where you can get to the root and the source of something very quickly, and hypnotherapy is one of them. But it's just a way to get to, like you said, that part of your mind where 98% is what's driving your actions and your behavior. Mm-hmm. So if I'm doing all the right things, but I'm still stuck, Why not go to the source? And these things that I believe about myself that aren't even true, and I can change them in a pretty quick way. Well, then let's go find out what those beliefs are that aren't even true, that make you procrastinate or make you have fear when you go into a board meeting, that are causing you imposter syndrome. And yet you're the one in your area of expertise that knows everything.
Yeah.
Why are you feeling these things that are making you, not move toward your goals?
Yeah, I think this is really fascinating because when it comes to, talking about hypnotherapy, I always think the primary way is to, stop a habit, maybe like smoking, or to uncover some sort of trauma that we don't remember. I had not really thought about it as training ourselves in reprogramming. I always go to reprogramming as reading more things or doing written affirmations, or the verbal affirmations of I am successful, I am a magnet for money. So tell me a little bit more about how the hypnotherapy works for this.
Yeah, all I do is work with high performers who want to do better in their lives. So yeah, occasionally someone, like you said, might want to stop smoking or eat better. But how it works is, let's look at your life and say, these things are working, but these areas I want, it's usually we're hitting an upper limit where, that book about, okay, I want to take the big leap, but now I'm freaking out about it. Or why all of a sudden do I feel like I'm doubting myself? I mean, I think we've all been there before. And that's when these little voices in our subconscious that start to, there's a saying that says that you don't rise to the level of clarity, you actually act on these patterns that are automatic. So what we do in hypnosis is we look at, all right, what are these big, hairy goals that you want in your life, whether they're personal or your health, or make deeper connections in your life, or yes, excel in your career, and look at these areas that you're stuck, and what are those beliefs that are blocking you from it. So that's how I help performers or high performers in their life and say, why are these things blocking you? And we'll look and work on, perhaps it's, well, you're always seeking validation, or there's a belief that you're not enough, or whatever that belief might be, or speaking in public. And we might go back to something that was said from a third grade teacher that by now we're 50 plus years old and we're the best in our industry, or, we're trying to connect with our children, but it's something, a belief that's so buried deep down, has nothing to do. It doesn't make any sense, but it's a million times more powerful than any logic. So once you get to the root, and I think it's important to know, it's like, you wouldn't garden and not pull the roots out and not expect them to grow back. And that's the same thing with our beliefs and patterns. We need to get to the root, get to the bottom of it, pull it out, and then we can change it. Then we can work on those philosophies that we know, which are, okay, you repeat it to make it stick. We do all the things we know make common sense, but we still got to get to the root and pull it out.
What a great analogy of pulling the weeds. Because I think, again, most people do it at a surface level, but they don't think about, going deeper into doing that. What do you think, are some of the fears that people have, or maybe the misgivings or misinterpretation they have about something like hypnotherapy that might keep someone from wanting to do this? Again, I know it's not, they want things to be logical, but what are some of the other things that, maybe people are like, yeah, it would never work for me?
Well, I think the biggest one is, who wants to give up control? They're going to give up control. No one's going to sign up for that. I wouldn't sign up for it either. So I think that's the biggest one is, I'm going to lose control. I'm going to go in some kind of a trance and they're going to do something to me. And that's not the case. You still hear the dog bark. You still hear the phone ring. You're still communicating the entire time. And it's a very natural state. If we've all driven home from work, perhaps, or from the grocery store, and we get home and we don't remember driving. It's like, did I even, hit that red light or stop when I was supposed to? Because we're able now to be on the phone, sing a song, plan dinner, and all the things, because our mind goes into different brainwave states. So a big misnomer is you're going to lose control. The other thing is that, it's really that these parts of us are, people believe that if I didn't have trauma, I grew up in a great, my life is fine. There's not really a problem. I'll
Mhm.
have many clients will tell me everything's fine. I'm have a good job. I have a good family. I just kind of need to get over it. And I think that successful people, and even often women, will say, there isn't really anything wrong. I should be able to solve this on my own, especially if we've
Mhm.
solved a lot of problems at work. We are a problem solver. And that's not what this is. These are ingrained beliefs that are here to protect us and keep us safe. And if not excelling to that next level or doing that big thing is in a subconscious way, really not going to, it believes it's not going to keep us safe.
Mhm.
That's all it's doing. It really doesn't care if you get the raise or you get the promotion or you lose 10 pounds. It doesn't really care about that part. So that's, I think, important for people to know is our subconscious mind doesn't care about all the really beautiful things that we want to happen in our life. So if
Mhm.
we just kind of go in and have a conversation and find what really is going on, we can flip those beliefs so fast. This works so fast once we get to those and find out what those beliefs are.
Yeah. And, I'm really glad that you brought that up because I think so many times, especially with high achievers, they do think I should be able to do this on my own. And sometimes, and I know this
Yeah.
happened for me early on in my career, asking for help was a sign of weakness. So I wouldn't want to go to someone
Oh
because
yeah.
it means that I can't do it on my own, which of course fed into all the other programs like we're talking about, like the not worthiness and all of those things. So it's that interesting cycle. I would love to hear, can you share obviously keeping the confidentiality of the person, but can you share maybe a story of someone that you worked with and how you took them from point A to point B?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I have a story of a woman who was very, very successful, has her own business for 25 years. She's an executive coach. And she came to me because she wanted to roll out kind of the next level of her business and ramp it up. And she had a series of videos that she wanted to create. And she says she's hired photographers, makeup artists, the editors, and they've showed up to her business maybe 3 or 4 times on the day to create the videos, and she's had to send them all home. And she said, can you imagine the embarrassment? I've created this video, a program she wanted to put together. And I was actually on her podcast. And she said, I can't believe I'm so humiliated. I speak for a living and I cannot make the videos. What is going on? And we were able in hypnosis, just a couple sessions, to go back to some childhood experiences where perfectionism was just something that she
Mm.
believed was so expected. So when now she's been putting in her place at a place where she's expected and she really wants to do well and expand herself. So this has had nothing to do with skill. This has nothing to do with anything other than a belief that was created literally under the age of 10.
Wow.
So there's no logic. There's no way of ever finding it. None of it makes sense. It's not any strategy. There's no clarity that she needs to have. But looking at what is driving her behavior, she did have the wisdom to say, I'm really have to get curious about what is underneath the
Mhm.
behavior, because I have all the skills, what's underneath the behavior. Once we were able to go there and allow her subconscious to feel safe in this area and kind of upgrade it, I think that's important to know. These are things we just have to upgrade
Yeah.
very, very quickly. We just upgrade them and say, all right, this is your life now. And it's able to upgrade and match the clarity you have and the vision you have and the skills you have. She was able to just move forward really, really quickly.
And it is like I've been in that position too where you're like, why isn't this working? I do this for a living or anything. And like you said, it's so ingrained that we don't even know where it was created. And it just keeps us from going in circles rather than really living our best. And that's what it is. Again, it's not necessarily the success of the more money or the title. It's the success of
Right.
authentic, being the best version of yourself. And like you said, clearing out the weeds so that you can grow into the beautiful, best version of yourself. So if there's someone sitting back, I mean, I think working with you would be absolutely incredible and just get people there so much quicker. But if there's somebody there and they're like, okay, I want to start doing something just right now, are there any exercises or resources that would be maybe a quick little thing that somebody could do right now on their own if they're feeling stuck in a certain area?
One, just get really curious about, okay, am I procrastinating? Look at your behavior.
Mm.
So get really curious about it and stop beating yourself up, because usually that's what we're doing. I should know better. I shouldn't do that, because there is a reason that behavior is going on. And the other thing is, listen to the words that you say to yourself, because I will say that our subconscious mind will do, we get to be right. So we get to be right. Exactly what are we saying? So listen to how you speak to yourself. And this is not self-help talk. This is not me saying, oh, universe, I'm so beautiful and blah, blah, blah. But literally, it's like you're giving yourself an instruction book. So if every day you're saying, this is killing me, I'm so ridiculous, this and that, really, it's very powerful. Your subconscious mind listens to the words you say. And if you're saying, I hate that meeting, I don't want to go to that, don't be surprised if you end up, your body listens to the words you say and you end up with a migraine, or you end up with a mass confusion about the next step to take. So that's really does have a very powerful effect on the kind of influence you have on your subconscious mind. But getting really curious. And the other thing that's kind of just an easy trick is, if you find yourself, say, feeling in a certain state and you need to go into maybe a meeting or a discussion with someone that feel, and you're not ready for it, and you want to feel confident or calm, and you're not feeling in the state that you want to be in, I want you to close your eyes and just very quickly think about a moment in the last, say, 24 hours or 3 days that you did feel that way. So let's say it's confidence. Let's say, okay, in the last 24 hours, when did I feel confident and maybe really empowered? And it might be, I called my son and I encouraged him, or I pet my dog and he was really feeling great. And allow yourself to feel that feeling, because we get more of what we feel. So all you have to do is allow yourself to feel that feeling, because anything you've done before, you do it again. You can feel it again. You get more of what you feel. If you're feeling stressed out and freaked out, you're going to get more of that. So feel it, allow it to just kind of feel in your body, and then go tackle the thing you want to feel. So you're just kind of doing a little switcheroo really, really quickly, and it very quickly can change things for you.
I really appreciate that, because I have always been told to look forward, to say, okay, if I'm going to go speak in public, I'm going to visualize, what does it look like when I'm on stage? What does it look like when people are done and they're clapping and applauding me? But I like what you're saying of go
Yes.
backwards and connect with when you were, powerful, when you were confident before, because that also shows you it is possible. I've had moments of confidence before.
Yes.
And that's what I really like. Sure, you can, get the visualization and do that. But I think so many times, and I see it even in sales, I work with a lot of real estate professionals. And once they saw that they could have success, it was like the floodgates open. So I like this idea of going back in
Yeah.
time to connect with, okay, I was able to do this. I was able to have this feeling before. I can do it again. Really cool.
Yeah. And that's actually an exercise I do with salespeople is, let's talk about something when you just nailed it. What did that feel like? What did you do? And we'll even do that in hypnosis, because, or even just a happy memory or a moment, because we get like kind of a rush and a feeling and we remember it. And we can do that again. We can feel it again. And that's a very powerful, it's a pattern reframe that we can have.
Fantastic. Oh, Christina, this is so cool. And I just, I love talking with and working with people like you that are so forward heading. And what I mean by that is, we want to help people. We want to help people achieve the lives that they want. We just want to help people be better and to minimize the stress. Life is hard enough as it is. And if we can do our part to sort of eliminate some of those items, just so we can be happier and more fulfilled, it's that ripple effect that we have. And I just honor the work that you are doing. And I would love to ask, for our audience that's following, what's next for you?
I am creating, I right now do a weekly free hypnosis experience for everybody because I want to demystify it. And I just want to share with people, don't be afraid of this because you are so powerful. So I'm creating a group this summer that's coming out for people to experience this in a much more easy way in a community. Because again, I want to share with people ways that they can empower and change their life even more. So I'll share that with you, and just want to spread it. That's coming out in July.
That's so cool. I mean, our minds, our non-conscious brain is so powerful. And when we can learn
It
to
is.
understand it and understand, really how it can just change everything, not just from what we're able to accomplish, but how we go into each day. Like you said, the words that we use, the feelings that we have, when we can take that control back, it changes the game completely. So it's really awesome.
It
And I
does.
encourage people to look for that program because there's beauty in front of us, and let's go after it. So
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
absolutely. I have one final question for you. And this is a question I like to ask everybody is sitting where you sit today, how do you define success for yourself now?
I define success feeling that I'm clear internally with what makes me happy, what brings me joy. And yeah, that's it. I'm knocking on the door of 60. And I know at the end of the day, like what's my purpose? And that is, connections with people, and having clarity on that kind of is my compass with everything that I do.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Christina, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, for sharing this, for giving us some quick ideas that we all can do. And I just wish you continued success.
Thank you.